Guest lecturer, and you should be a bit envious, right? Because you should enjoy every moment that we will be having today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ms. Nodara. So, Mr. Eldor, thank you for your coming. So here, please listen carefully, and at the end, there will be Q&A, question and answer. So you can ask your questions at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, the professors, the students. 5 priority areas. As you can see, the first one is the social policy. We briefly say it's a social policy, but the name is visible, I hope. Second one is economic policy, and the third one is, as you can see, water issues and environmental issues. The third one, rule of law and good governance issues. The fifth one is foreign policy, security issues, religious tolerance issues. This is very important for the production. You know, we have, let's say, some regions which might not have decent infrastructure, to be honest, to have a production. Like, for example, no energy, no roads, yeah, or no, let's say, access to logistical issues. So in that area, it's difficult to do business. Whereas the Uzbek government wants to make sure that at least all of these economic zones have this required, let's say, infrastructure for doing business, be it energy, be it roads, be it other required issues. So that's why, in that sense, it's very much important. There are some debates in the, let's say, in some other foreign countries, saying that this, you know, that the tendency is that international community wants to limit the emission of gases. Yeah, they want to limit, let's say, harm to the environment. Yeah? But the developing countries are saying, why should you do it now at the expense of us? Because you, developed countries, have produced a lot, and you are the reason why we have this environment. So you use this chance, but now you want to limit it for us. So these are the arguments of the developing countries. So they are saying that the limitations to these standards should not be at the cost of developing countries. So you should, for example, developed countries, help us and invest more in our, let's say, technology. For example, these developing countries, they want to, as we said, want to produce, but they are, by producing, will be hurting the environment. But to limit this harm, they want modern technologies. So these developing countries are requesting the developed countries, okay, we will not be willing to harm the environment, but then you should help us with the, let's say, know-how, with the technologies that you have to limit the, let's say, harm. So this is the argument in the international arena. But in Uzbekistan, it's also relevant. So that's why Uzbekistan declared this year, this is the reason why I was concentrating more on green energy. So Uzbekistan wants to implement the policy reforms to make sure that we will have 50% of our energy from alternative energy, like, as I said, solar and wind generated by 2030, which means we will also be contributing, let's say, with our to the economy by production, but with less harm to the environment. So this problem is acknowledged by our top policymakers. So that's why they are also working on this issue. And later in my slides, I will also be talking about this in the near future, even this year, because I will be also talking about this year's state program, in some details, where it also touches upon your question. But thank you very much for the question.
Let me just put some comments here. In April, and Eldor, you are very much welcome to participate as well. Our institute will host international conference, and by the way, dear students, just make a note that you are also invited to participate on green economy. So we have lots of partners. We communicate intensively with the real sector, with financial institutions. And at the start of the April, probably at the, in the first decades, we will be hosting international conference on green economy. So that questions, including what happened with the IFRS standards, you know that the new standard has been implemented, IFRS 18, right, that will replace IS1, that shows how companies should report on their footprints, right? And that will also be discussed. So please, everyone who would like to participate, and I hope that at least one student we have here, and Eldor, you're also invited.
Thank you very much for this initiative. Thank you. Thank you. You contributed with very important information. That's why I said in the beginning of my speech that later when we will be producing products and delivering it to the world market, they will be asking us what kind of energy you use. So this reporting is not just for nothing. It's they have the reason. Yeah. In the end, they will see based on your reporting what type of energy you're using. So if, let's say, our neighbors will be bringing their products with green energy, they will be, let's say, buying from them. To be honest, because at these Western and international standards, as we said, they want to limit harm to the environment in general. Yeah, so that's why to motivate those countries who are using green energy, of course, they will be buying, even if it's a bit, let's say, pricey. They will be buying those products from them to give further motivation. So that's why this is very much important. And you want to contribute?
Also, I would like to mention about, for example, in our assignments, students needs analysis to provide information and provide also reference and with in-text citations. Is there any chance that so they can use the information that you have provided for the assignments, because they have macro-environmental analysis, which includes environmental and economical factors that you already have mentioned clearly, how they can use and provide reference on the assignments. So it will be beneficial.
Thank you for the question. Yes, this question has also been raised by our partners, embassies, international organizations operating in Uzbekistan, abroad. They also want to cite the information that we are providing. That's why you can cite it based on the, let's say, information we have on our websites. The Development Strategy Center has a website, and it tries to publish this information in, well, I would say in 3 languages, Uzbek, Russian, and English. Some materials are also available in some other, let's say, languages. So you can refer to our website and cite it. More than welcome. So another priority area is, as you can see, the banking sector. And this is one of the other challenges that we need to deal with, especially the older generation. They don't trust banks at all, yeah, because they, I would say, some time ago, yes, with their deposits, they deposited in the end of Soviet period, but then they lost lots of money. So they have this notion that banks are not reliable, and they are also transferring it to the society at some stage. But now banks have become more operative. They have invested a lot in IT, in let's say making sure that you get a proper service, let's say momentarily, yeah. So that's why banking services have become more and more convenient. However, Uzbekistan wants to make sure that the bank deposits will increase by 4 times by 2030. So as you can see, the government still identifies it as a challenge. So not everybody currently bringing their money to the banks as a deposit. Yeah?
If you don't mind, yes. I ask just one question. Okay, what might persuade us to bring our money to the banking system? What do you think? Interest rates, okay. So we want to be richer, right? Okay, what else? Trust, okay. In which way? So what do we mean by trust? Because that was raised many times, right, during the lecture, very informative one. So what is trust for your, from your side? You put money into commercial bank, right? And you want to make that, you will get interest, as you mentioned, and you will get your money back. Am I right? Okay, so what happens in other countries, and happens in our country as well, so that the trust is ensured? Who knows? Okay, the question is, so in order to increase, right? That system has already been in place. Okay, and so you said that in order to bring money into the banking system, we need to be assured with the interest, right? So that inflation rate will be covered. And you then mentioned trust. So what is done specifically? I will just give you some hint from central bank to ensure that trust. Who knows?
The guarantee, yeah?
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much.
So you want to make sure, before depositing, you want to make sure that you will at least, as I said, get your money back, yeah? Not the profit, but at least your money back. In that case, the government is guaranteeing you that you will receive your deposits back if the bank fails. Because in 2008, we saw the collapse of international banks, Lehman Brothers, for example, which caused the crisis in international arena. So over there, the amount of deposits, the financial instruments was too much. Yeah? But in Uzbekistan, the banks are, let's say, guaranteed that they will return your deposits because there is a state control over that. But recently there was a debate over that. If you could have noticed, why should the government guarantee? But let's see how it goes further. But currently,
200 million souls. Okay, I can, well, look, when we talk about commercial banks, right, we mean that they are, first of all, depository institutions, meaning that they are social units. And when you bring your money, they actually make liabilities from their side. So that means most of your money, up to 90% or 85% of all deposits that you bring as savings, they do not exceed 200 million. So to some extent, people actually put 50 million, might put up to the maximum 100, 160, and you could be from one family, and they will not consider one family per person. Okay, so per person, 200 million sums is guaranteed to be paid back, which is very high, right? If we, very high, 95, 90, 80%. We know, right? Educated people, they actually know what they can do with their savings, and most importantly, your money should never be actually stayed, right, as idle. If you just keep your cash, right, in the not working position, you will be losing them. Right?
So just quick comment. So 2 questions to students. What do you think, dear students, if we do not keep in the bank as a deposit, instead you keep at home, which one is better, and in which case you will win, and what do you think? Any answers from your side? So sitting in USD, you think?
I can prove that that may not be that much beneficial. I made my research, I calculated. So if you have certain doubts, you may approach me, and I will show my calculations that keeping them in commercial bank much more efficient and effective.
Some people, I want to support your idea. Some people even, pay the banks to keep their money safe.
Yes.
In foreign countries, it's vice versa. So they bring their money to the bank, and as I told you, they pay the bank to keep their money safe. So maybe in the future we will reach this level also. Yeah. But at this level, they prefer, let's say, their houses because of course the crime is less in our regions, especially. We don't even have the gates, yeah, in the neighborhoods. So we travel a lot. We see that people trust each other very well. So some people actually do not bring their banks based on, let's say, Islamic traditions, Islamic values. They don't deal with the banks. For those persons, as you can see, our strategy foresees development of Islamic financing. Some years ago, when I was talking to the policymakers at the central bank, they disagreed. They saw this as a, let's say, not very attractive instrument, but the society has changed, the demands have changed, so that's why we see that now it has become, at a certain extent, a demand of the society and at some extent attractive for those who want to deal in this sphere. So that's why this will also be introduced in the future, in the near future, and we hope that the introduction of this financing method will bring more cash to the real economy. And because we said there are some people who don't want to deal with commercial banks.
Yes, Trust Bank actually implemented Islamic finance, by the way. You might have heard about it, right?
Have they already? Okay.
I mean, 2 years ago, so they have divisions on Islamic finance.
So sorry for interruption, we have less time left. Maybe one question and then group photo. So we can stay here and photographer will take a photo from this part. Maybe after one question, yes, please.
Okay.
Please.
Economic growth and general income because the economy.
Can you speak up?
Can you speak up louder, please?
Okay. The economy is growing, but the salary is stable. The question is how we can ensure that the generally economic growth will improve the just ordinary life of citizens. Like it will be good if you more elaborate and with just GDP.
Yes, thank you for this question. It's a question, let's say, which concerns everybody. And this is a question, I would say, interconnected with all reforms happening in Uzbekistan. Because to have a decent salary, of course, our market, Uzbek market, must be competitive enough. But to have a competitive market, we need to have professionals who produce competitive products, who produce, very importantly, competitive services. Yeah? Because now the portion of the agriculture sector in Uzbekistan GDP is decreasing, which means the government wants our people to be involved in service sector. What I want to say, ketmon bilan emas, kalla bilan pul topiladigan mazmunda davlat shunga incentive beradi. So these incentives are, these incentives can be seen in different examples that I referred in my slides. First of all, by let's say, I didn't mention that Uzbekistan wants to increase the level of universities by 50% by 2030. So 50% of our young generation will have a chance to have a higher education, which means they will be hopefully doing even better in their works and producing better services, competitive services, which will be highly valued, highly in demand, not only domestically, but very importantly, internationally. In that case, of course, we will be hopefully covering or supplying more international markets with our services. And of course, this will directly reflect on our GDP.